Hello YouTubers, today I'm going to be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the sequel to the hit film The Amazing Spider-Man, and if you enjoyed the first one, you'll probably really enjoy this one too, like I did. I thought the first one was good. It was a good introduction to the stars, because you got Andrew Garfield playing the new role, and he had a lot of hype because, well, you got to live up to Tobey Maguire's performance, and even I still prefer Tobey Maguire, even after this film, I still say Andrew Garfield is giving a good performance in this film. Now, Emma Stone, again, does a great performance in this film, but you do think she felt a bit more comfortable in the first film. But in this film, you can see that she's in a mood, and she is in her element, and she is really doing well in this film, and her ending is probably one of the saddest endings in comic book history. Now, the plot of the story. Now, this is basically, it carries on from the first film. The first film, it talks about Richard Parker, and, which is Peter Parker's father, and why he left him. But this one goes into more depth, and it actually gets more character development, which I thought was better. Even though sometimes the story, because there's a lot of stories, because you've got the Electro storyline, in which I'm going to speak about that later, and Harry Osborn storyline, and the Rhino story, which is very small, so it doesn't really matter. But it's kind of rushed now, even though it's the longest Spider-Man film, and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, which I think it was really good. At the end of the film, you kind of think it could be a bit longer, because of how much the story is. But yes, it carries on from the first film, but it leads more into the Victor Parker story, like I said, and why he left him so young. And it does give you a good, if you remember in the first film, remember the plane crash, well, that plane crash newspaper, you do see it, because if you look into the trailer, you will see it, tiny bit of a spoiler there, but you'd learn why that happens in the film as well, which I will not spoil. And now by the actual, and also there's a story between Peter and Gwen. Now Peter and Gwen have their own love story, if you remember from the first film. But if you remember from the first film, Captain George Stacy, Gwen Stacy's dad, said, "You will make enemies to Spider-Man, dash Peter Parker. You will make enemies. Leave my daughter alone, because, well, she'll be hurt." And now he keeps seeing her everywhere, but he can't decide between Gwen because he loves her the most, but he doesn't know what to do. And so he struggles and he has a lot of impact, and he doesn't know what to do. And so he decides to leave her, but at the same time, he's trying to think of what he can do right. And there's quite a dramatic ending, and I will admit that. But it's kind of, quite dramatic. It's quite upsetting actually. Even though I knew it was going to happen. If you're a comic book fan, you'll probably know what I'm talking about the green dress on Gwen Stacy. So say the green overcoat on Gwen Stacy and the purple top on that. If you're a comic book nerd fan or Marvel fan, as I should say, you'll automatically think Amazing Spider-Man issue 121, which is depressing, that issue, because I really didn't want it to happen. But I'm not going to spoil it, because if you're not a Marvel fan and you do not know of that issue, and you're not knowing of this rumour, which is I'm not going to tell you what the rumour is, but it's sadly true, you will probably, I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's a great ending. Now, the acting, again, like I said, is brilliant. Andrew Garfield, you can tell he's trying, and the acting in this, to me, I think was better than the first film, and I think, they both, there was, a lot of humour in this, which to me worked, for the actual characters, because in the first film, there was humour, but it wasn't paced right, really. And to me, I think it works in this film compared to the previous films, and it does have a nice dynamic in it. I'm also going to mention Stan Lee's cameo, a nice little cameo for Mr. Stan Lee. It wasn't the best cameo, you just see his face in at the graduation scene, which is a short scene, but it's, well, not a short scene, but you've got to watch it, because in the future scenes, it goes back to it, and it's quite emotional, actually, after the certain scene, which I'm not spoiling. Now, the villains, Paul Giamatti as the Rhino, he's some Russian guy, can't say his name, he's asked with an A, his second name's with an S, can't say it, because Alex says something, but it was actually, Paul Giamatti does a great role of him, and there was some, great acting from him. It was a bit over the top, but you can tell he was just mainly for the laughs, and his storyline was quite short, so it didn't really bother me. Now, Dane DeHaan as the Green Goblin, which makes no sense, because he plays Harry Osborn, which obviously Norman Osborn's meant to be the Green Goblin, but he dies. And you find out that Norman Osborn was working with Richard Parker, and there is the odd thing in which it trying to explain why the Spider-Man's character is really important to the Harry Osborn, because he's dying like his father's dying, and he needs Spider-Man's blood because he thinks that it can cure, but he's not really sure. And then there's quite a couple of subplots in that. I won't say subplots, but they become old friends again, and I thought that was quite neat and smart. To me, the main thing that lets it down is kind of the pacing. In the first half an hour, it wasn't paced perfectly. Dane DeHaan himself, he did an alright job, but to me, he's not William Dafoe, and we all know that. The even guy played Norman Osborn, it wasn't the best of scenes, but you kind of ignored it because you know you just wanted to like the film, and you did, you really did. Because at the odd moment, you was like, oh my god, and it's like, oh yeah, phew. But also, when Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker have their own misfits, you can tell that Peter Parker really does want her, but he's struggling to fight for her because like he wants to protect her, but at the same time he wants to love her. So I thought that was a nice story into it. The villain, Max Dillon. Jamie Foxx did an alright portrayal of him. I wasn't really keen on Electro, but the action scenes are pretty awesome. Jamie Foxx, you can tell he was trying, and it was quite funny at some points with him. And it was like, well, Spider-Man uses humour like sparkles, come here, after you've seen in the trailer. And so it wasn't bad in with the character portrayal. But I do prefer the old Electro in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 9. I do prefer that compared to the Ultimate Spider-Man version of Electro, in which kind of did disappoint me in a way. And that's what they did with the Rhino as well. They made him more Ultimate Spider-Man come with a bit of the Amazing Spider-Man issue 41. Which I get what they're doing, they're trying to create their own creative lineages to it. Especially the infamous scene in issue 121. They changed a bit of the location just to make it more of their own touch to the actual franchise itself. All around, this was a great film, good acting, good writing. It's just that they tried to cram too much into one film. And if there is the Sinister Six in the next film, I don't know how they're going to really do this, mate. The audience, I don't know how they're going to really do this. But I do hope they do it well, because I'm really anticipating for the next Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's a sad ending, and it's going to well, if you don't know about the ending, you're going to probably be slightly crying. I don't know. But thank you guys. Hope you have a very nice day. And I'm going to give this film, I'm going to give it a 4.5 stars out of 5. This film is good. They needed to pace it a bit more, and if it was paced better, it would have got 5 stars. That's maybe the only problem, guys. Except for the odd piece of acting and a bit of the story development. That's pretty much it, guys. There's not many mistakes with this film. They lived up to my expectations, and they did what they did well. And to me, that's why it's going to get the 4.5 stars. Thank you for watching. The end.